We were back with Sully, Michael, Mike, Scully, Sully, Sullivan, Mike Sullivan, Michael Sullivan. What's happening, man? We're just going to call you Sully. And you are a past guest on many times on the Purple Acorn Network. So,
Love the guys.
what brings you to RecFest?
It's a wonderful place to connect with old friends and meet new partners. And it's just a combination of technology and humanity all meet in one place. Love it.
Technology and humanity. So, before we dig into it, tell everyone who you are and what you do best.
Michael O'Sullivan, Director of Strategic Partnerships over at Disability Solutions. But as you mentioned, most folks simply call me Sully. We're a job board dedicated to the disability space. So we help organizations attract and attain folks within the disability world.
It's so interesting, and I haven't shared this. I had a recent interview. I'm a recruiter, in the trenches recruiter, and I had an interview with a hearing impaired candidate.
Okay.
Probably about a month ago, and she was very upfront about it. And I was like, cool. And she's like, I'm going to have my ASL translator on the Zoom call.
Yep.
And I said to her very candidly, I go, I'm excited for this because I haven't done this before. I've done another one where it was transcribed.
Yep.
Which was cool. But now I'm like working with the translator, and I started to get into it because it's something I haven't done before as a recruiter. What are we doing in this space to make folks who do not have these limitations more comfortable in the interview process?
Well, it's interesting you say that.
And I use the word limitations more for a communication limitation.
Differently abled, yeah.
Differently abled.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yep.
Thank you for keeping me politically correct. Sully.
Organizations do bring in ASL interpreters for a variety of different reasons, but what we found and what we know to be true is through an application process, you'll hit the submit button, it'll go into an ATS workflow, and that recruiter will have the ability to requisition it. Now, do you self-disclose that I'm a person that is hearing impaired? The answer is no. Why would you? And
You're creating a bias that you don't know about.
Your resume is your essential report card as to why you should hire me based upon qualifications. And so it's interesting to kind of see because we know when an individual asks for like an accommodation, let's say they're going to use through a Workday and they have an Olivia pop up or something, some agentic AI, the system does not compute. And so that's where it's interesting for us because we're trying to work with those partners to embed accessibility into the process.
That's how you do it.
Now, everybody likes to say they're accessible, but they're accessible to the basic core responsibility of the organization for compliance. Compliance is the beginning, not the end line. We're talking about moving folks quicker, further down funnel. And this entire conference, all HR tech conferences, are about getting folks further, faster down funnel.
Right.
And we really are creating more widgets on widgets when we need to talk about accessibility all day long.
Accessibility. So interesting. So let's level back and talk a little bit about bias too. And it's a really interesting one. So if someone self-discloses early on in the process that they need an accommodation, in this day and age, I could see a lot of recruiters being like, Skip, that's going to be too hard for me. I don't want to do it.
The average accommodation costs less than a cup of coffee, especially with
most candidates have their own
being
accommodations.
over $5 these days. It's actually cheaper than that, and so it's actually extremely simple. Most organizations just simply need to take that first step. Inclusion is not that difficult.
And it should be ingrained in the culture of the recruiting teams also, and how to train hiring managers too. It's one thing for us recruiters day in and day out over having these calls. It becomes part of what we do, and we're used to it. But how does that scale up to the hiring managers? How are we training them to conduct interviews? And then how do we take that to the next step? So moving down the line of how do you integrate this person into your team where they're able to communicate with everybody and feel comfortable about it and remove the biases? What have you seen working in the bias removal world?
Well, October is National Disability Awareness Month, and so we have an entire month dedicated towards that. So organizations do their best in order to train and educate their employees. But the truth of the matter is we're really talking about getting organizations at their core to learn how to fix their process and go through it. And so it makes things extremely simple when you think about it. Just let's go back to using empathy and understanding of how to educate and talk.
I really hope with all this technology. I mean, if you scan out there, I've seen so many companies that are literally just slapping AI, to the back of, to the end of their name there. But what are they really using it for? What have you seen from your perch of the technology actually moving the needle and moving the process faster, better, stronger, to give us more time for empathy and human side? From a tech, we don't have to call anyone out here unless they're, want to throw a couple of bucks our way, right? But from a technology perspective or a feature benefit perspective, what are you seeing?
It's interesting. I don't necessarily know that there's anything that I find to be better or difficult than anything else, but there's just a lot of different organizations out there that are bringing a lot of different tech that is going to change the landscape. I think it needs to be more human-centric. The future of this industry is human. There's not going to be a tool out there that's going to replace us. AI is phenomenal, but
So here's the analogy I've been kind of spitballing in the old dome over here. Do you remember? I think 15 years ago, with a lot of these big companies, they got the idea we're going to save a ton of money by offshoring all of our customer support overseas, and we're talking, high-end credit cards. We're talking like real human touch points, and we'll put it this way: the communication was broken. Things were lost in translation. The level of overall customer care failed, and companies realized very quickly, well, not so quickly, but once they saw the bottom line that, hey, we're losing a lot more money than we're saving over here, and they went back to it. They went back to you and said, "We're now." It made it like a benefit, like U.S. based customer service. So I think we're moving in that direction. We're still booming here. We're still blooming. Blooming's the word.
yes.
Here. I think it's going to level out, and then there's going to be the either acquisition teams. Companies are going to kind of fall off here, but the cream is going to rise to the top, and the features and benefits that are meant to be are going to stay, and we're going to get back to the human side, because I think we're losing a lot of that here. They're literally trying to strip human away from everything.
The basics are coming back into focus, to your point.
That was long-winded.
I think that there's a lot of different tools and resources out there that are going to help us. AI is not going to replace any human in the process. They're just going to make it better. It's not going to build us a house. It's going to allow for us to be more efficient, but efficiency really needs more humanity in it. We need to realize that we're in the human capital business, and people come in a variety of different shapes, colors, sizes, and otherwise, and they're going to have different needs and wants, and I think AI doesn't have that empathy. I think the term empathy needs to be brought back into focus in the talent acquisition space. We don't talk about it. We are in the human business.
We've commoditized it.
That is correct.
We've commoditized it, and
that is the problem.
And that's where you lose it. But here's the other thing too. Us recruiters, the volume, the pipeline is so. We're trying to drink out of a fire hose right now. And while we want to be empathetic, we don't have time for it. So what I urge everyone out there is to find those small moments when you can be.
Yep.
Right, and at least just do the right thing. Like I always say, like the way I approach recruiting is, how do I want to be treated as a candidate?
Yep.
And that's how I get back there. So, what advice would you give to anyone coming into this space right now to, like, if they're saying, hey, you know what, I'm looking to move into the people career. I think it would be good for me. What advice would you give them to start in our world?
Honestly, it's a great time to be in this space. There's so much technology. There's more information at your fingertips now than there ever was. I've been in this space for over a decade, and I think that recruiters were just given a phone and said, hey, work off this Excel. That is no longer the case. And so I think you have your resources and you have a community. The community is so amazing. They continue to give and give back. And that's where I think just tap into that. Okay. Use your community.
Let's talk about community here before we wrap it up.
Absolutely.
I think that if you look around here, look at all these conversations, like, people are friendly here. They're friends. There's abundance. There's collaboration over competition for the most part, right? There's definitely some competition going on here. But you look around a community, and that's the thing that excites me about RecFest. It really is, bringing everyone together, old friends, new friends, meeting new people, and finding those commonalities that bring us together, sharing ideas. What any conversations, speakers that have really stood out to you? Any topics?
I think some of the topics that interest me most is really how we're looking to just build more systems on systems and the integrations, and how we're trying to connect things back to it. That's where I do see a lot more success in where we're going in the future. It's really kind of an interesting sort of thing, but there's challenges with that. Not everybody has an equal playing field in regards to some of those resources. So just because it's cool and fancy doesn't mean I can get it or organizations can have it. So I think we need to figure out what that means.
We do need to figure out what that means. Sully, leave us with one pro tip on how to survive day 2 of an event like RecFest.
Hydration, hydration, hydration.
And sunscreen.
Yes, as an
For us
Irishman, it's always
for us fair-skinned devils over here. We need to keep it up. Mike, tell folks where they can find you, where can they connect, where can they learn more.
You can always find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a note over at Disability Solutions. I'm more than happy to engage with anybody that needs anything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's how we do it. Sully, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Awesome.